Let's assume that the preorder traverse method has been called on the root node, so we currently have the 7 node on the call stack. By the way, the top frame on the call stack represents the currently executing method. Execution is paused for all other frames. Okay, so in preorder traversal, we visit a node first, then recursively traverse its left child and then its right child. So let's visit the 7 node. In our context, visiting a node simply means printing its value. So we visited the 7 node. Now, let's get a reference to its left child and then recursively call traverse on that. We now have a reference to the 5 node. Calling traverse on the 5 node pauses execution of the 7 node and adds a frame on the call stack. We visit the 5 node and then get a reference to its left child, which is null. Calling traverse on null pauses execution of the 5 node and adds a new frame on the call stack. Now, reaching a null means we've gotten to the end of a path, and we should return back to the caller. So if the node is null, we return, which pops the current frame off the call stack, and now we're back at the 5 node. We get a reference to its right child and call traverse on that. We now have a reference to the 9 node. Calling traverse on the 9 node pauses execution on the 5 node and adds a frame to the call stack. The 9 node is not null, so we visit it, get a reference to its left child, which is null, and call traverse on that. Since the current node is null, we return back to the 9 node. We then get a reference to its right child, which is also null, and call traverse on that. Again, calling traverse on null takes us back to the 9 node. At this point, we're done executing traverse on the 9 node, so we implicitly return back to the 5 node. We are also done executing traverse on the 5 node, so we return back to the 7 node. We get a reference to its right child, which is the 8 node, and call traverse on that. Calling traverse on the 8 node pauses execution on the 7 and adds a frame to the call stack. The 8 node is not null, so we visit it, get a reference to its left child, which is the 3 node, and call traverse on that. We visit the 3 node, get a reference to its left child, which is null, and call traverse on that. Calling traverse on null takes us back to the 3 node. We then get a reference to its right child, which is also null, and call traverse on that. Calling traverse on null takes us back to the 3 node. At this point, we're done executing traverse on the 3 node, so we implicitly return back to the 8 node. We get a reference to its right child, which is null, and call traverse on that. Calling traverse on null takes us back to the 8th node. We're done executing traverse on the 8th node, so we return back to the root. And at this point, we're done executing traverse on the root, and so the frame gets popped off the stack, and we're done. Our final output is 75983.